you know, I'm not going to rest the blame on anyone's doorstep. I'm sure no one ever wanted this to happen. Having said that, though, at least it's taught me that it can happen to anyone. You know, if it can happen to us, we're perfectly ordinary people living ordinary lives, and we've ended up in the middle of this. You know, I mean, I was always one of those, oh, it'll never happen to me, and how do people end up in this sort of mesh? You know, you see things on television, and, you know, it's so far removed from everything you know. You don't even consider that you could be part of anything like that, but you can.
As human beings, we don't deal with death very well. We get panicked by it, fear it, because we don't understand. Without God, without spending some time in a week reading the Bible or praying or listening to music that inspires, to me, the week hasn't been a good week. It's got to involve God from day one. And that makes life a lot easier. If you get up on a morning and say, thank God for another morning, even when you hit the pits at tea time, at least you've started from a high point. So your low point becomes less low.
Many of those who are HIV positive have little support or comfort, and those who have lost their partners have to face a painful decision, whether or not to look for a new relationship.
First of all, you don't really want to pass the virus on. If, you know, I mean, you can have accidents, sort of condoms on 100%. So really you wouldn't have a relationship with somebody with HIV. You know, if you do that, you have to think about whether or not your new partner is going to die as well and things like that. Or can your new partner cope with the fact that you might die? And you also got things like comparing a new partner to the one you've lost. I mean, if somebody dies, you always remember sort of the best things about them and forget about any sort of little things that you didn't like, you know. You always remember the good things. And sort of Maddie's not going to grow old. She's always going to be sort of 21-year-old.
It's very difficult to try and work out what the future holds. Basically, if we believe what the experts are saying at the moment, I've not got long to live. For the family, obviously you hope that the lessons we've learnt will hold the family in general together. But you've got to face reality, and the fact is, up till now, AIDS equals early death. So in many ways, the outlook, my outlook on my future is very small. I'll never work again. And I know I'm going to spend a lot of time being ill.
I have a tendency to take things as they come, you know, sort of day at a time, week at a time or whatever. I don't actually think, well, in 10 years' time I want to be doing this, you know. I want to be a millionaire by the time I'm 40. I don't think in terms of things like that, you know. I think in terms of I've got to go and do my shopping this afternoon, or I must get the garden done at the weekend, that sort of thing, you know. I have a tendency to sort of think maybe 6 months ahead, a year or whatever, and just see what happens. Well, I think a lot of heterosexuals have been burying their heads and saying, oh, this is the type of thing that happens to other people. It won't happen to me. And a lot of that is going to have to change. The virus is already out there throughout the full length of the country.
There's still an awful lot of ignorance about it, generally, which is so sad because we've had so much publicity, and if people can't really take it seriously and listen and learn something from it, then I wonder where it will all end.
If you could actually be with somebody who's dying of AIDS and see somebody that you love that much actually die in your arms in such a terrible, horrific way, then I think if people could actually see that, then there'd be no casual sex at all, because the end is just so horrific. It's just not... It's worse than your worst nightmare, I would say. And to see somebody go like that, it's just horrible. So people who think it can't happen to them are just very naive.
The last 3 months, 4 months, I haven't been able to go to work. A lot of it lately is to do with the cold. That's basically because of weight loss. I'm very glad that Sue's here, because there isn't a lot I can actually do without sort of making myself breathless and that sort of thing. I occupy myself by doing jigsaws and reading and watching the television and listening to the cassettes and many things like that. But you haven't got the satisfaction of actually going to work.
Bob THREAKALL was admitted to hospital on the 17th of February this year. He died 3 days later.
If you're worried about HIV or AIDS, or if you'd simply like more information, you can call the National AIDS Helpline to talk to a trained advisor. All calls are free and confidential, and you can call at any time on 0800 567 123.